Hello, hello. Is this thing on? Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I am Wanda Lotus, and I have the photography brand Lotus Land Fine Art. So I primarily do street photography here in New York City, where I live. And so today I am going to take you along while I edit photos. So let me pull up my editing software and just let me make sure that I get everything situated here in the chat because I want to make sure I can see what's going on. Got to keep the chat clean. All right, good. And that's fine, that's fine. So while I'm getting stuff situated, how are you all? I hope you are having a good day. Um, a lot of people are starting to go back to work. Hold on. Hold on. Let me make sure that this is working. Okay, so according to my streaming program, oh wait, okay, I hear myself now. All right, so the stream is working. Good, so I can mute that. I can pause that. And as I was saying, a lot of people are starting to go back to work. I think we entered phase 2 here in New York City of reopening the city. So people are going back to work and, well, not back to school. As far as I know, even the colleges that are doing summer classes are doing online learning primarily, which I think is very smart. Um, I do understand that there are clinical trials that are happening right now for a vaccine for COVID. So fingers crossed that in the next few months we'll see an effective and safe vaccine so that we can get back to some semblance of normal life as we know it. In the meantime, we take things a day at a time and we do what we can to stay safe. At least I hope everyone is doing what they can to stay safe. So that actually segues nicely into this first photo. So these are photos that I made while I was out the 21st. So that was the beginning of the week. I went out to run some errands, or that might have been the end of last week. It might have been last Saturday. I'm not sure. So went out to run some errands, and they added a new sign to the elevators. They originally had the sign here that says safety first. And actually, I would probably, if you're going to see my mouse, I probably need to show you the whole laptop display and not just the Corel window, but I'm not going to switch. I'm not going to switch the display right now. So yeah, originally by these elevators, there was just the sign that's in the lower right-hand corner that says "Safety first, face mask required." Beyond this point, there's a similar sign inside this particular set of elevators, but recently they added the sign that's up at the top that says elevator capacity 3-person maximum in order to maintain social distance. So I wanted to capture that because, it's definitely a sign of the times. And I'm gonna have to do some color correction on that. So what I'm doing now, I just uploaded the photos to my photo library, but I did not. I didn't edit them. I didn't cull them. I haven't even really looked at them. So this is my first time looking at them. And I made 2 photos of this scene. The first photo is a little bit straighter than the second. It doesn't matter too much, only because I can straighten the photo here in Aftershot Pro. But, the closer to the way I want the photo I can get it in camera, the better. So I'm going to go with the first shot since it's straighter. It's less straightening, because when you straighten a photo, you actually end up cropping some of the photo out. So I'll go with the first photo. That's less that I'll have to end up cropping out. So this is a bush that I saw outside, and I liked the way the light was hitting it. I'm not sure these close-ups show it the way I saw it, but this shot here really shows the way the light was hitting the bush. I really like that. So I'm definitely going to mark that one to use later. That'll be one of the photos that I edit, is what I'm saying. Computer's running kind of slow today. Let me see if I shut some other stuff down. Usually what I like to do is make sure I don't have much of anything else running while I am streaming. Oh, this might be doing it too. Let me quit my other browser. And I don't have any music apps, any other apps running in the background. The music that you hear is my partner practicing tenor saxophone. And of course, you hear the ambient noise from the traffic passing by. This is New York City. New York City is loud. So you will hear the ambient noise from the neighborhood, sirens, horns honking, or whatever. Um, and because we are a musical family, you will hear my partner practicing tenor saxophone. They're about to have their lesson in a moment or two, their video lesson. Let me look at this close up more. What I like to do if I'm trying, I wasn't using a macro lens or extension tubes, but when I am trying to get a reasonable close up of something, I like to try and get the foreground most in focus, because for some reason, if the foreground isn't most in focus, the image just doesn't really work for me the way I'd like. Let me make the thumbnails on the bottom a little smaller. So with this one, this first attempt I don't like. The second attempt I like better. Maybe it's because of the position. I a lot of times I use the rule of thirds to help me compose a shot, and all rules are meant to be broken. So there are plenty of times where I go against the rule of thirds, but as a general starting point, I like to use a rule of thirds to start. So you see in this image, the foreground is more like halfway up the composition space, where in this image, the foreground is more in the bottom, and I don't understand the science behind it yet. I haven't tried to read in depth, but the explanations that I've heard of the rule of thirds say that this is how our eyes are naturally drawn to images. They tend to be drawn to them in thirds. So This one better fits the rule of thirds, so I'm going to mark that image to come back to, flag it, flag that image, excuse me, to come back to and edit. And this is another pretty decent one, um, but I'm not sure I like it as much. I mean, I like it because the foreground is sharply focused in contrast to the background. And that may just be because from this angle, the background is further away than it was in the previous image. I'll flag it. I might find something that I want to be able to do with it. And I'm definitely flagging this one because this really demonstrates what I was seeing in terms of the light. I was able to capture the light, and that's what caught my eye in the first place. The close-ups were just, they weren't really an afterthought. They were what I tried to capture first. And when I saw that the close-ups weren't really capturing the overall view of the light that had caught my eye, then I just zoomed out and captured the bush in general instead of just trying to focus on the close-ups. I like this photo because of the perspective. You know, the what do they call it? Vanishing point perspective, I think is the phrase for it. So you can see somebody is out on the other end. It's more interesting because there's somebody on the far end of this scaffolding, and you can see the scaffolding, and because of the perspective, it's leading lines that are pointing towards the person. And you know, even though they're far away and you can't really see many details of them, that wasn't really the point. The perspective was the point. So I like this one a lot. I flagged that one to come back to as well. On this particular day, I had my 24 to 105 millimeter f4 lens. So I was actually able to zoom in and out. The last time I did a stream of editing photos, the lens that I had been using was my 50 millimeter lens. And I love my 50 millimeter lens. It's a relatively inexpensive lens, but it produces very sharp photos. This lens, the 24 to 105, is not an inexpensive lens. This is one of Canon's L series lenses, so it cost a nice chunk of change, even used, but it has served me well in the, see, when did I buy it? 2009. So it served me well in the 11 years that I've had it. Oh my goodness, it doesn't seem that long. But I remember I upgraded to my full frame camera in 2009, and I bought this 24 to 105 f4L lens when I bought my original Canon 5D Classic body. Now I'm shooting with a 5D Mark II. But both of them are full frame, so I was able to continue to use the lens. Well, I can still use the lens even on a crop sensor camera. It's just that I wouldn't be able to use a crop sensor lens on a full frame camera, but we're not talking about that right now. If anyone has any question about that, I can go into more detail about that at a later point. So I was saying that since I had my 24 to 105, I was able to zoom in on what was happening at the car wash that was across the street from me. And this is a pretty large street. It's a 4-lane divided street, 2 lanes on either side. And I believe it's between this photo that shows the guy polishing the tires, and this photo that shows a guy cleaning the windshields. This is the exit of the car wash, and the guys at the car wash are doing the final touches on the car before the owner drives off. There really isn't anything interesting going on in the second photo. You know, I mean, you can see the guy polishing the tires, but it's not as obvious at full frame. What I may need to do is crop. I'm thinking that I like this one better. because you have the two fellows. Let me see how it looks if, well, I'll flag it now, and then when I come back to it, well, no, I shouldn't wait because I'll probably forget. So let me go ahead and crop this. And I don't want to crop out the exit sign because it gives a sense of place to the photo. Where if I cropped out the exit sign, it's like, okay, they're just a couple of guys standing by a car. But if I leave the exit here, it's kind of obvious. Oh, okay, this is a place of business. These aren't just random people standing on the sidewalk um, cleaning their car. And more than likely, this is a car wash, so I'm going to leave the exit sign there. And you can see them a little bit better. I'm not sorry that I took this from a distance because I wanted a wider view of what was going on. It would have been an interesting shot to get a close up, like if I had been right there with the guys and been able to get a close up of them working. But that's not the shot that I was going for. I was going for more of an environmental image. So I'm pleased with that. And then I'll leave those other two. I won't look at the other two. This was one of those, this red cup does not belong, but for some reason, it sitting here on this ledge is really capturing my eye. Kind of shots. And it's probably because, when you're looking at a fence, you don't expect to see a red cup sitting on the corner. And I immediately thought of my People Were Here series for this image. People Were Here is a series that I'm doing where I encountered items like this, like a red solo cup sitting on a fence, and it's a sign that somebody was there and they left something behind that you don't expect to find in that environment. So this is definitely going to go in my People Were Here series. Leaving a sense of more of a sense of place, zooming out, because the cup is so small in the environment, it wouldn't have had the same effect. So I was willing to crop out most of the environment, but still leave enough that it's obvious. Okay, this is sitting on a ledge, and there's a fence here and what have you. But it doesn't show the surrounding neighborhood, but it does show that this is part of the environment that the cup was found in. It would be very different if I had, say, taken the photo from above and all you could see was the cup and a little bit of the ledge underneath it. It wouldn't have been as interesting, I don't think. This is the not ice cream, I don't think. This is probably shaved ice that he has. And I wanted again, more of a wider environmental view than a close up just of him. So I'm going to definitely come back to that. Oh, right. Okay. This photo and the next one are part of Signs of the Times, showing some of the signage that has gone up in this time of pandemic and dealing with the pandemic. And I like this shot. This one I made because there are all of these signs, except for the new store hours, I don't think, but all of these signs are about the pandemic. But because I took this from a wider angle in this shot, you can't really see like the details. You can see the details of this image, because the print is so large, but these other ones you can't really tell what's going on. This sign here, you not only can you clearly see the image, the duct tape there is like a suggestion of this was hurriedly stuck up here. Something had to be done right away. We didn't have a lot of time. We had to make a quick decision, which is really how responding to this pandemic has gone. We've had to make very, very fast decisions about how we're going to conduct our daily lives, based on changing parameters and new information and all of that. So I feel like this image here is more representative of what's been going on with the pandemic. So I'm going to choose that one and leave the other one. I'm not going to delete the other one. I tend to not delete images unless they are um, out of focus, unsalvageable. I like to keep my images, and I have very large backup drives. So far, I have not had to delete any images in order to make space. And I like to do that because there have been many times where I'll come back to an image, years later and look at it and see something in it that really speaks to me, that I didn't notice before, or because of the headspace that I was in when I took the photo and my intention at the time that I took the photo, it didn't really match, so I just set the photo aside. And also images that have some technical difficulties, maybe things aren't, they're not, it's not completely blurry, but the photo's not quite as sharp as I would like it to be. I still like to set those aside because over the years, software changes. And I've gone back to photos that originally I felt like they were unsalvageable. And as the software has improved over the 13 years since I've been shooting seriously, I can go back to the photo and I'm like, oh, wow. The noise reduction in this version of the software is so much better than it was a decade ago, and now I can actually salvage this photo. Or the sharpening has become more fine-tuned than it was a decade ago, and I can sharpen the photo more without it looking like it was over sharpened. So I keep my photos and I go through them sometimes, like all of these months where I really wasn't able to go out and shoot. I've been going through my photo archives and posting some photos that I overlooked when I first took them, say, 6 years ago. And these are just shots of the sky. It was such a lovely day, and I wanted to capture, and it looks like I did it well with this first shot, capture a reasonably balanced shot of the blue sky contrasted to the building and the trees. Like I had said in my last stream, I like capturing shots like this to show um, this side of New York City as opposed to just skyscrapers and projects and concrete. And there's nature all around us. You just have to have your eyes open and look for it. And I've gotten pretty good at that over the past, especially in the past 6 years that I've been in this particular neighborhood. These shots weren't for fine art photography. These are actually inspiration inspiration for The Sims. I play The Sims 4, and I've been looking around for inspiration for landscaping and builds, and this is something that I would like to duplicate in some of my Sims landscaping. So I need to create a new keyword. I'll call it Simspiration. And photos like this, I'll just put them on my Simspiration keyword, and then I'll be able to go back to them when I'm looking for build ideas. So I'm not gonna dwell on that one. This isn't one that I'm going to end up editing because that wasn't the purpose of making that photo. Oh yes, this lady sitting on a low wall enjoying the sunshine. I think I would have liked it better if I had been more off to the side. Um, but this does say something to me, though, about finding a moment of peace in the middle of a very large, busy apartment complex. I believe the apartment complex where I made this photo has something like 60,000 apartments. So there are a lot of residents. It's a very busy place that doesn't really sleep, just like the rest of New York City. And it's a predominantly working class neighborhood, so you have people coming and going all hours of the day and night, all three shifts of a work day. And she found a little spot where she could sit and enjoy the sun and looks like she's reading something probably on her phone or a book in her hands or whatever. But I like that. I remember making this photo and wanting to, again, not so much capture the person, but capture the person in the environment. And I have two different versions of this. So there's the landscape version, and I think I like that one better just because they're closer to the center of the sidewalk, where in this image, they're on the edge. There's not as much separation between them and the sidewalk. So there's the landscape version, and I flagged this one. I'm going to go back and edit it. And then there's the portrait version, where you see them lit up by the sun as it comes between the buildings. And I did these in rapid succession, so there's not much change. I believe I'm going to go with this one. Just because you really can't see it that much, but as the shadows change on the stairs, um, as the sun is filtering through the trees, you have different spots of light. And light, your eyes will naturally gravitate towards the brightest parts of an image. In this middle image, the bright spots are furthest away. So the leaves had shifted and the shadows had shifted. So the bright spots of sunlight on the stairs are furthest away from the person. So I'm going to flag that. And having those bright spots the furthest away from the person gives you a nice separation between them and the background. I'll flag that one. These look like some more tree shots. It was just so, oh, this is my smokestack. Um, I've been studying this smokestack since last autumn because I wanted to really practice finding beauty in the bareness of the trees and the changes, the obvious signs of the changes of the seasons. Let me tell you, that's a struggle. I don't know about you, but I prefer spring with all of the bright colored flowers and all of that. And I prefer summer with the lush greens and still more flowers and the warm weather. I the only thing that I really like about winter is being holed up at home, snug, away from the cold. I don't normally find winter all that beautiful, and I've really been challenging myself the past couple of winters to look for the beauty in winter because if you're living in this part of the world, winter is a part of life, and I don't want to go through like a full quarter of the year miserable just because I can't find anything to appreciate about the natural weather. So um, I started studying this smokestack last October and November when the trees were bare, and I made a lot of photos of it framed by bare leaves. Now the trees are full again. It's the end of June. It's almost next end of next week is going to be July, and it's just so incredible to me because we've pretty much been inside since March. We missed all of spring because we were being smart and not going out and possibly exposing ourselves to COVID-19. In that sense, I don't regret missing spring, but I do regret, from a photographer and a nature lover's standpoint, I do regret missing spring. So when I was out this day, it dawned on me that I can't clearly see the smokestack anymore. The leaves have the trees have leaves on them now. So I wanted to take a picture of that, and I'm going to compare it to the starker photos that I made of the smokestack over the winter. And this is another one of those, look at the beauty of nature in the middle of the city type shots. I like this one better than the one that shows the trees, better than this one. This one I am going to set aside though, because I have a friend who really loves trees. And I like sharing shots like this on my Facebook, especially for him. But this one I'm going to share just as another way of showing people, hey, this is New York City too. It's the middle of an apartment complex. Look at all of this greenery. We have this whole area here that's tree lined and people can walk along it, any day. So I'm definitely going to come back to that one because it gives a sense of place. Maybe this one too. I like the three trees here that are the main focus in the frame. The car is kind of a distraction, but I don't know. There's just something about the positioning of these trees that I really like. So I'm going to come back to that one. This one might end up being a black and white photo. I can see it, or if not black and white, I definitely want to brighten up the that lower third of the frame so you can see the tree trunks better. Now let's see this next one. This looks like somebody reading on a bench. Oh yeah, yeah, I definitely want this. This is like a classic street photography shot in New York City. Classic New York City park scene. Somebody's sitting in the park on a bench and they are reading a book, just enjoying the gorgeous weather. Now these other shots, that I'm not going to go into these other shots. Those were something I took those. It had something to do um, with the neighborhood and neighborhood action plan I was talking to someone about. So I won't go into detail about those. So here are the images that I flagged to actually edit. So there were 42 images in total, and I ended up with 18 that I'm going to edit. And I'm not going to edit all of them on stream, I don't think. Yeah, it depends on how much I can do in the next 30 minutes. So, because I only intend to stream for about an hour this time around. So let me start. You know what? I want to start with this one of the shaved ice vendor. And this is crying out black and white to me. The colors are just a distraction. Right, there's a time and place for color, but the color is not the focus of the image. Oh, good. I was able to get him well in focus. Let me see. I wonder if would cropping be, okay, see now, if I crop this way, then I'm putting them in the right third of the frame, which is where my eye is naturally drawn to anyway. So I'll definitely do that. And maybe a touch of vignetting to kind of, to darken everything else, and a little bit of fill light. So I want to brighten them up just a tad, because they were under the shadow of the umbrella. And so you can hardly tell that there's any vignetting. Now, I like this shot a lot. I'm going to keep it. Now, what would happen if I sharpened it a little bit more? Sometimes I like to just play around with the various editing sliders just to see what happens. And really, that's how I've learned a lot of what I know in terms of editing style. So I'll make it too sharp, like here, and you can see the graininess in the photo, the digital noise because I've made it too sharp. Get rid of the sharpening. You can see that it's kind of fuzzy. And like I said, every single camera, every single image, no matter what camera you use, could stand to have just a little bit of sharpening. Because that's just how the software is. Now, by default, I have my sharpening set to 100. I think I'm gonna bump it up to like 135. And it's not something that you'll really notice when I share the photo on social media, but it's something that, say, if I blow this up to an 11 by 17 or larger print, um, you would notice that it's a little bit sharper. You can see the details a little bit better. I love this shot. I do. And I don't want to crop out this person on the sidewalk because, again, it gives a sense of place. And if you look closely, you're able to see they are wearing a mask. They're not wearing it correctly. The mask is supposed to cover your nose and mouth, in case you did not know. Now you know. But you can see by having people, showing the people on the sidewalk, it's not just this person standing by themselves in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of a, um, they're in the middle of a regular neighborhood, and there are other people around. So I'm going to keep this. Let me keyword it as well while I'm thinking about it. So, keyword street photography, of course, and the name of this neighborhood is, the neighborhood where I took these photos is Parkchester. So, let me go to my New York City, and I do a lot of photos in the Parkchester neighborhood of the Bronx. So, I have a specific keyword just for Parkchester. So there we have that. I'm glad I started with that one. I love it. I want to do this one next. The sign on the supermarket. Now this one, it could be black and white. Actually, it might be a good idea to make it black and white. Let's see. Because again, colors, there's a time and a place for colors, but colors can be a distraction. So let me explain what I'm doing here. Right now, there are no true blacks. According to the histogram, you can see the end of the histogram stops short of the far left edge of the window. So I'm deepening the blacks just enough for the histogram to reach. I don't want to make them too dark. Um, but there, so now on the far left side of the histogram, you can see there are true blacks. We already have true whites. And let me see if I bump the exposure up a little bit more, add some sharpening, which you can't really see zoomed out, um, but unless you're sitting very, very close to the screen. But I can tell because I know what to look for. I've done this before, but I can tell that there's a difference by sharpening it. Now, if I take off the black and white, yeah, the colors get kind of distracting. You have a whole rainbow of colors here. If I put the black and white on, it removes the colors, and I don't even have to do vignetting on this one to bring focus to the sign because the sign is a little bit lighter because of the way the light fell. There was an awning that was over this window. So the shade was darkening the rest of the window, but for whatever reason, the way the sun was positioned, there was a little bit more light on this hastily pasted up sign than there was on the rest of the window. Now, what I would really like is for this to be a little bit darker to really bring out the contrast between this sign and the regular window. To do that, let me see what playing with the contrast does. And again, just moving the sliders around to see what works and what doesn't work. So if I bump the contrast way up, it makes the letters more white, which does bring some, which does highlight the sign more. What if I play around with the curves? Oh, here we go. Okay, so with it being more contrasty, because the lettering in the sign is white, deepening the blacks and not so much bumping up the highlights really makes the text of the sign and the New York State Senate seal and even the mask a little bit more stand out. And it also really shows you the difference between the darkness of the background compared to the brightness of the sign. I like how that went. So that is definitely, I think I even have a sign of the signs of the times keyword. Let me see. Street photography, series. So, that's tools of the trade. Let me look. So I'm just going into the keywords window here in Corel Aftershock Pro 3. I really like this software. I'm happy with how quickly I was able to switch over from Lightroom to Corel Aftershock Pro. I thought I had created a keyword specifically for signs of the times. Now, if I did not, I need to. Let's see. There's a collections. Let me see if I put it under collections. I think collections, because they don't have, no, I wouldn't have put it under collections. Because they don't have collections in Corel Aftershock Pro, I wanted to be able to find some of the collections that I had in Lightroom. I did not transfer a lot of them over, probably because I have them under other keywords. And frankly, I haven't missed them now that I've gotten used to Aftershock Pro. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to make a theme, Signs of the Times, and there's one other photo that I know I need to add to it. Oh, wait, am I recording this? I hope I'm recording this. Yes, I am recording it. Good. Let me see. So I'm going to put this under LLFA themes. And instead of under American Dream, Signs of the Times will be the keyword for that. And it's created the keyword under the LLFA themes. If you look on the far left-hand column, you'll see now that there's a Signs of the Times keyword. That being said, there is another photo that I need to add to that keyword, and now I need to find it. I believe I made the photo in May, and it should be one that I flagged because I remember sharing it. Here it is. Yes, I did flag it. I did flag it. So this one also, I'm going to keyword that Signs of the Times. Now this one I deliberately left in color, and I think it's because the bright yellow, Signs of the Times, I think it's because of the bright yellow making the signs that I was focusing on really stand out. So there's your cash your stimulus check here signs, and then the much smaller but also bright yellow and black caution wear a mask please signs in English and Spanish. So now I have both of those photos under that keyword so I can find them whenever I want. And now I can go back. Oh my goodness, I love, sometimes, have you ever gone away from an image, just looked away from it for a few minutes and then looked back at it and you see new things, or you like it even more the next time you see it? Let me, let me mute my phone. Someone is blowing up my phone. And I will get back to them, just not right now while I am streaming. Let me see. There we go. Alrighty. So there. Now that won't distract me. I'll just keep my phone right here. I have a family member in the hospital, so I'm not going to turn my phone off. And if I do get a call regarding them, then of course I'll have to stop the stream so that I can take that call. But for right now, so far so good. All right, so yeah, I was saying that sometimes when you look away from a photo and then you look back at it, you'll either see new things or you'll just like it even more. And this photo right here is one where I just like it even more now that I've looked away for a couple of minutes and looked back at it. I'm just so glad that I captured that one. Now this is definitely going to stay in color, of course, because I want the blueness of the sky. I want the greenness of the trees, the white of the clouds, and I want the contrast of the brick building. So this one, I need to do some very basic stuff too. First things first, I need to straighten it because the building is obviously crooked. I was looking up and did did the shot as straight as I could at the time, but that was not straight enough. So there we go. And now I'm going to sharpen it, and you can see it's, you know, a little bit of sharpening goes a long way. Now the next thing I'm going to do is yeah, get rid of this sensor dust. And it looks like there's only one. Yeah, the other one was a spot on my monitor. It wasn't sensor dust. So there's some sensor dust here. I'm going to get rid of that. So let's create a healing and clone layer. And we will use a circle. Now, one thing that I don't like about Aftershock Pro is that it won't show you the circle that you're using for healing and cloning while you're creating it. So you have to move it off of the blemish to, okay, that's the blemish. It won't show you it changing its size. So I'm going to change it now to size 120. It'll show me the final size, but it won't show me the size as it's changing. And I don't like having to play that kind of guessing game. But, it is what it is. I'm working with what I have. So now I can slide that over, and it has gotten rid of the blemish. I'm very happy about that. We like to have clear blue skies. I really need to clean my monitor because I'm seeing spots, but they are not spots on the image. They're spots on my monitor. So you see me reaching for it is because I'm checking to see is that a blemish on the image, or is that just a sign of a dirty monitor? And so far they've been signs of a dirty monitor except for that one. I know, the shame. So let me reselect the main layer so that all of the edits that I do to the image are going on the main layer and not just on the heal and blemish layer. Okay, so now I'm going to see what happens if I try to recover some of the details in the highlights. Um, and that'll give the clouds a little bit more structure, as opposed to having the clouds totally blown out. So I will do that. I think I need to adjust the white balance a bit because the building is looking kind of blue, but I don't want to make the photo too warm because then everything will look too yellow. So this looks like a pretty decent compromise. And if I bump the vibrance up, then it'll make the sky bluer and the tree greener. I don't want to make it ridiculous. You can see there's some yellow in the clouds. Let me cool the temperature down just a little bit. There, that looks nice. Now I can tell that it's warm, but it's not too warm. And now the other thing that I like to do, I've really liked doing this muted colors edit with my color photos. So the first thing I'll do is bring the end of the RGB layer up. Then I'll go to the blue layer. Oops, I missed it. There, go to the blue layer, bring that up a notch, usually about halfway. Then I'll go to the green layer and I'll bring that up about halfway. And all that does is give it more of an artistic kind of look to it. It's a look that I learned from a YouTuber whose name escapes me right now. And she uses it on her Instagram. At least she did in the past. As an artist, your style changes from time to time. You try different things, and so her style is changing, as mine is changing, because this editing style is not one that I've been using for very long. It's only been, I would say, maybe 6 months or so, a year at the longest. I don't think it's been a year because I don't think I've been following her for a year. I'm not sure I like this though. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to create a new version so that I can compare my original edit to this edit. And what I'm not liking about this edit is because there's so much shadow in the image anyway, this edit is making the image feel muddier. I'm losing that sense of a sharp, bright day. However, it's giving the image more of a 35 millimeter film look, which I also like. So it's not that the edit is bad, it's just the edit is different. So I created a new version with this edit, and what I'm going to do on the original, I'm going to take the curves back to where they were. So I still have my vibrance edit and all of that. I just don't have the curves and the muted colors. So now I can look at the two of them side by side. I do like this edit. The one with the muted colors, it's looking kind of like I would imagine a postcard. So I suppose there's a time and a place for either one. Um, but since I'm planning on sharing this particular photo on my personal social media, not on my fine art photography social media, I think I'm going to go with the muted one. So let me reselect that. Maybe if I play around, I'm going to label that one blue. And the photos that I label blue are the ones that I intend to share on my personal social media. The photos that I label with the purple are the ones that I intend to share on my fine art photography social media. So let me play around with the curves a little bit more. Maybe if I bring this down. Oh, wait. Okay, maybe bringing it up. Yeah, I think bringing it up some more for whatever reason, right, is what's helping it. Getting this point here in the curve that I was just moving a little bit further away from the blues. And I'll probably, yeah, some additional sharpening. I found that this edit can stand more sharpening just because you're muting everything anyway. So the image won't look over sharpened. And that'll help bring out some of the detail because when I slid the curve, when I slid the far left end of the RGB curve up, it eliminated some of the detail in the shadows, but that extra little touch of sharpening helped to bring some of that detail back. So I'll go with that one. And that's the one that I'll share on my Instagram, probably with a comment, of what a lovely day it was. So I've been at this for almost an hour. I believe I will end with this photo. Now let's see, I'm thinking black and white just because this orange cone is very distracting, and without the black and white, this bright orange cone is the first thing that my eye goes to. And that's not what I want. I want my eye to go to the woman sitting here in the middle who is the main subject of the image. Now this can stand some cropping. As you can see, it doesn't follow the rule of thirds. She's in the center of the frame. That's fine. The rule of thirds is a guideline. It's not a hard and fast rule. But perhaps if I get her more towards the rule of thirds without cropping out too much of the environment, I'll find the image more pleasing to my eye as a photographer. And sure enough, see, I would have thought that cropping out the tree, um, the trunk of the tree, would have removed an important sense of place, but it doesn't because so much of the tree is still there. So, yeah, okay, so we need some sharpening here. I was kind of far away from her. So let's do a little bit of sharpening and maybe bump the sharpening up just a touch. I can get away with that. And vignetting would be a good touch here because there's not enough of a separation between her and the rest of the environment. Like, I don't want it to look like she's sitting in a black hole, but I want more of this outside area darkened. So the vignetting does that for me. And if I put the strength all the way here and then change the size, so I made the vignetting as dark as possible so that I could clearly see how I was changing the size. And then I'm going to move it. Let me move the vignetting down a tad, but I increased the size of the vignette to darken that cone. Now I can take the strength back out, and this is what it was before, and this is what it is now. It's not a huge difference, but that subtle change does help. I need to brighten the image up a little bit more though. When you use vignetting, it is going to darken the image, and sometimes you have to bump up the exposure to compensate for that. Yeah, I like that. It's not exactly what I had in mind, but it's what the camera saw. I was talking with somebody the other day who had done a video, and they were asking if there was a way that they could get more of their environment in the final video because they had the camera too close to their face. And I said, unfortunately, the camera saw what the camera saw. It can't add what it did not see. And that applies here. Ideally, I would have liked to have gotten a little bit more of a profile shot of her. But I didn't move my body to get that. I stayed where I was and snapped this photo and kept going. So I have to work with what I have. And this is what I have. And I was able to do it, I would say, a reasonably good job. I would have felt like the photo was great if I had gotten more of a profile view of her. Perhaps if I zoom in a little bit more. Okay, that helps. That helps. And you can still see that she's in her environment. I do not want to crop. I don't want to crop so much that it's just a photo of her sitting on a wall. I want to show that she's in a place. And show a little bit of that place. And yes, there's a parking lot there. There are cars. There is a construction cone there. There's a tree that's in the foreground there. I want all of those elements in the picture to show that this person was able to find a spot for some quiet reading or reflection or rest, whatever they're doing, right here in the middle of this place that just if you're passing by, you might not think of it as a place to find a moment of peace. This person was able to do that. Now, since I changed the cropping, let me go back and check the vignetting. And so I want to move it down a little bit more and maybe move it to the left just a little bit. Not much. That was a little bit too much. And by moving it, I am darkening the cone a little bit more than it was. So this is without the vignetting, and this is with the vignetting. And I'm pleased with that. Just a touch darker there. Yes, I like that. I like that a lot. So I'll keep it that way. So that is my hour of editing photos. Let me see. Thank you so much. I see we have a couple of lurkers in the chat. That's okay. Lurking is fine. I do it on people's Twitch streams all the time. Just because you don't have something to say does not mean that you are not welcome. You are absolutely welcome. Thank you so much for sitting with me while I edited my photos, spent an hour editing some of my photos from the other day. So I have more photos that I took later in the week, and I intend to come back later this week and share another hour or so of editing those photos with you. So let me see now, before I go, let me see if there is someone live who I can raid. Let's see here. No, there's nobody live. Let me see what comes up if I type in photography. Let's see, these people are just chatting. These people are gaming. Here's someone doing art. Oh, there are a couple of people here who are doing art. And this is a New York City person doing art. Let me see what this person is about. Go to twitch.tv. And what is their name? New York City Timescape. Let's search for NYC Timescape. It'll just take a minute for this to load up. New York City skyline live. Oh, this is just a skyline cam. I'm shooting a 30-year long time lapse of New York City in honor of my father. Oh, I post sunrise and sunset every day on Instagram, and you can see more info at my website. Well, that's cool. That is very cool. I'm gonna follow them, but I'm not gonna host them. I don't think I could host them because New York City, that's my hometown. That's where I live. But let's see if there's someone who's actively doing some art. Let's see, I've got some other artists on here. Hmm. Oh, here's someone who's editing photos. Oh, they're not actually editing photos. They're playing a shoot 'em up game. They just didn't change they just did not change their description. Italian art. Let's look at this one. So this person says Italian photography and digital art. Oh, people who do digital art are talented as heck. Okay, it look they're live, but it looks like they're just doing a slideshow. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to host the live stream of the person who is shooting a time lapse of the New York City skyline. So, if you want to see a beautiful view of the New York City skyline, then I would highly recommend them. But again, thank you so much for joining me. You want to learn more about me and my photography? If you go to the About screen, then there are a bunch of links there. It'll take you to both of my photography pages. It'll take you to my novelty photography, which I have. It's a totally separate brand from my fine art photography. You know, I like having my hand in many different pots. So it'll take you to my novelty photography page on Redbubble and on Society 6. You can find links to my other social media on my photography pages. So if you go to Lotus Land Fine Art, you will find the links to my Lotus Land Fine Art social media. If you go to Through the Eyes of Lotus, you will find links to the social media that I use for my event photography. And I've just today created a Discord channel. It's not completely set up. I don't quite know how to use it yet, but I'm very excited about being able to chat with people when I'm not on the stream, and we can continue our conversations and whatnot on the Discord. So I'll be working on getting that set up, getting channels set up and roles and all of that stuff. So feel free to check it out, even though there's not much there. Right now there are three channels there actually. There's a welcome channel, there's a Lotus Land Fine Art channel, which is for this stream, and then there's a Sims 4 channel. I have another Twitch stream where I stream myself building and playing on The Sims 4. I'll probably be over there a little bit later today. There's a build that I'm working on there. And that channel is W Lotus every day. So W Lotus underscore every day. So you can go over there if you like The Sims 4 and you can watch me work on my build over there. So until next time, stay safe, practice social distancing, wear a mask, wash your hands, take care of your loved ones because tomorrow is not promised. And I will see you all in the next stream. You all have a very good night.